Well, welcome to the first edition of the podcast for the No Tech channel, because to know tech is to know tech. Going to be introducing now our guest appearance here. We have Jake, who has helped me before. You may remember him from when we did the Evo 4 audio interface. And we have Nick from Dirt Sheet Radio, the outstanding, very popular wrestling podcast. All right, today's subject, since this is a tech channel, is going to be talking about tech. What we're going to start out with is I'm going to start reminiscing about tech from when I was a child back in the early 60s to today, and we'll go from there.
Welcome to the show.
Back when I was a kid, everything seemed to be electromechanical. There was switches that you had to deal with. Like if you watch TV shows like Lost in Space or Star Trek, they didn't have like a interface on there where you had touch screens. It was all electromechanical. You had the switches to flip. You had all kinds of buttons to push. Even the toys were like that. Then I want to say we got past the 70s, late 70s is when I started to see a change to more modern things, because the computers, like the home computers, became more popular. Of course, many of you have probably seen my take on my computers that I had since very beginning of computing for home computers. And now we're getting into the 80s when the computers were really popular. And then when these guys were born in the 90s, I want to get their take on it.
Represent 90s. Let's go.
I remember when we were kids that cell phones weren't really a thing. I remember you had a pager. And then there's just house phones, and you had to have those numbers memorized.
Well, those pagers, I know that you had one of those and you got a call on it. I mean, you were like just all that.
That just asserted dominance to everyone when you could say that, like, yeah, I'm getting a page. Where's your phone?
Then I remember the wireless phones, and then I remember when, I think it was like 2000, the first cell phone that I ever saw, Nokia, indestructible.
The powerhouse.
Still around today.
Survived.
Somewhere.
It's in a museum.
I did talk about a video, or made a video about all my tech devices where I had communications, and my first actual telephone, cellular phone, was a flip phone, a StarTAC flip phone. And it kind of reminded me of the Star Trek communicators.
I just hear flip phone, and now my thought process goes the complete opposite direction. I'm not thinking wholesome. I'm thinking like Breaking Bad. All right, the deal's done. Break it and then shove it in like a glass or something. Yeah, just break the burner, throw it away. That's that.
I remember having to pull out the antenna. I had a Virgin Mobile Pay-As-You-Go. It was my first cell phone, and it was flip. And then you had to pull out the antenna just to get that extra reception in.
Talk to me.
Go ahead, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Good.
Hey, what happened to that guy?
This video is not sponsored, but let me go into his backstory now.
Yeah, and I mean, the cell phone evolution is just phenomenal. I mean, now I've got an Apple iPhone 15 Max Pro, and I think you do too.
Yep, we got the same thing.
Yeah. What do you have?
Oh, I have 13.
Okay.
I'm not the biggest phone person.
Is that an Apple Watch?
Yeah. I use it. This helps me with work.
Do you have it Bluetooth to your phone, or do you have it separate?
I just have the Bluetooth. I keep it light.
Yeah, I've got where it's actually, if I forget my phone, which I've done a few times, I can still make calls, get emails, texts, and that sort of thing on my phone.
On my end, this watch is just $40 on Amazon.com. Not sponsored. And it gives me everything I need, because honestly, all I ever wanted on a watch, number one, tell the time, of course. Number two, I really wanted to also, tell me like things like my heart rate and whatnot. And then, especially like it's great for when I work out, and it's kind of like a Fitbit in a way, I guess. But, being able to mix all those different elements and being able to connect to it with Bluetooth, I think is nice, because then too, if I'm waiting on like a very specific call, it'll let me know, just while I'm working and whatnot, They're like, oh, hey, so-and-so just texted me. I was waiting on that. Hey, my Amazon package, it just got delivered. So it's pretty cool that we're able to have that. And even just look at, going to like Computer Spectrum, the Amazon app that you could download. Like not to be an elitist, but I use Firefox. And being able to throw, hey, I like the dev tools, what can I say? And being able to have the add-on for it to just pop up a little message being like, hey, your package is outside. Like, it's just so cool to see how like communication devices have evolved to even just beyond the cell phone spectrum. Like, it's taken over computers, it's taken over watches and all the kind.
Now, when it comes to home computers, my first one is another video on my channel will attest to, was actually a TI-99 4A from Texas Instruments. I absolutely love that computer. But after that, it started evolving, getting a Packard Bell and then Dell's, that type of thing.
Was that compact? I think.
The 40 megabyte hard drive.
Yeah, I remember we had Windows 98, and that was really it. Didn't really use it much at the time.
Okay. Nick, what was yours? I know when you were little, you used to love to use my laptop to play games like Ed, Edd and Eddy and that type of thing on there.
Oh, yeah. Now, that's a sponsorship I think we should really get, is Ed, Edd and Eddy. But, no, I remember, like using your laptop a lot. I don't remember what the specs were on that at all. But my first, like, actual computer that I, like, personally, like, bought with my own money is the one I'm using right now, which is it's just like a whole, like, complete custom system that has, like, 32 gigs of RAM.
You had it built?
Oh, yeah. I had a custom built for, like,
It looks amazing.
Like 2 or 3K. Of course, it's got LEDs, because why wouldn't it? But yeah,
pizzazz.
it's got pizzazz. It has more Riz than I'll ever have in my life, so I'm really happy about that. But it was a very valuable purchase, and it's something that I use for business and pleasure, as they like to say, is, just being able to, like, go on it, game, and play whatever game I want, and not have to lower the specs on it, like I had to do with my previous system that had a terrible graphics card, that had terrible RAM, and then just being able to roll with it and vibe onwards, just having fun, and then being able to, at the push of a button, I could just start doing my work and actually be productive.
Well, I have a question. How do you? I'm not the biggest computer person, but how do you update the RAM? Like, I have a laptop from 2013, and I mean, the thing's a dinosaur. It takes like 15 minutes to just start up, and then I wanted to play a game on it, but I don't have enough RAM. You ever heard of Satisfactory?
I have heard of it. I have not played it.
But the computer can't handle it. It's just
Right.
real slow. How do you update that?
So I think the big thing to look at is RAM-wise, like, make sure it, number one, like, meshes with your motherboard, because sometimes that's a big thing that a lot of people don't consider and think
Can you
about.
do that with the laptop?
For a laptop, okay, so that's a little different. I think
I'd
it just,
get a new computer.
I mean, if it's 2013, might as well, because, like, you gotta get a lot of different editions and whatnot too, because RAM is a big part of it, but also is like graphics card, because a lot of games too, really, especially now, because I just got Baldur's Gate 3,
Nice.
which is a fantastic game. I have been playing that for hours and hours, just download a bunch of mods for it. But just being able to have all those options and just throw that out there, and I don't know why I'm starting to talk about Baldur's Gate, but like to upgrade your RAM and whatnot for it, that's one side of it, but you also need like a good graphics card. You need to be able to have like a good CPU and yeah.
Okay.
So at this point, I would say
Just get a new computer.
it might as well just be worth getting a whole new system.
2013 with technology now is like the Cretaceous period for
Absolutely.
human history.
No, exactly, because like that's how fast it moves.
Yeah. Does it move fast enough, or do we move fast enough with technology? Or is it now? I should blow your guys' minds.
I'm ready.
I'm gonna open them.
I'm ready.
Look at AI now. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Are we keeping up with it, or is it just gonna surpass us, and then we're gonna have Skynet? I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know about AI. I mean, scammers are using AI now. I saw that one time when you had just left the house, Nick. Somebody called and pretended they were you,
I remember this.
saying that your friend was in a crash and you needed help and all this.
With his voice?
Yeah, there's a scam out now. I just saw something on Facebook about it.
Voice?
They're using AI.
How'd they get my voice? Because I wasn't on Dirt Sheet then.
Yeah, well, it didn't really sound like you back then, so it must have been very primitive AI.
Nick.
Hey guys, it's Dick. Can someone send help? Social security number, please.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, they're using AI now as a scam.
I could hear it with like famous people. Like, I know you could do it with like Trump's voice and all that, but the fact that if they had yours, that's a little weird.
Well, here's the thing that I think with that, I think it was less of like an AI thing, because They had to have known I was out of the house at that point.
Or are they watching?
Exactly, because I remember I left and I'm like, wait a minute, how did they know I was there? So I U-turned. I'm like, I'm driving back home and whatnot. Welcome to the new true crime podcast.
Yeah. And I mean, now this all can lead to what they're doing at the CERN Center was that Switzerland, somewhere in there,
Switzerland, yeah.
where they're trying to actually bombard these things at the speed of light in order to possibly open a portal with this technology. I mean, this tech can go anywhere now.
They're making like a super collider with it.
Yeah.
The Hadron Collider.
These dodecahedrons.
What's the particle though that they're trying to do? I can't remember.
The God particle.
Yeah, but it's called something else. Starts with an H. That's actual like particle by the guy who theorized it back in the '60s, which is his name. That's what they named it after.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, you know that guy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hugh.
you know that guy. Yeah,
Hilbert?
that guy. Yeah.
Hughes, my man.
Yeah, that guy.
Particle haze. Nah, he'll be fine anyways.
Yeah, but when I was a kid, you were looking forward to new technology because it was just the coolest thing. And even as I grew up to an adult, I mean, everybody was looking forward to the newest technology. Now it's like there's many people are looking at it like, I'm afraid of what's going to happen next.
I think you can argue that though with any sort of aspect of technology, because especially going back to like AI, yeah, you could use it for like a lot of bad stuff, but at the same time, you can also use it for a lot of harmless, fun stuff. Like look at the amount of times people take like celebrity voices just to make like a stupid mashup or a stupid like little commentary over like a video game, for instance. Because I've seen that, and honestly, I find it hilarious because someone does these. I watched it on TikTok and I watched it on YouTube, where you take Trump, Obama, Biden, and Bush's voices all put together, and it's like they're just like four dudes, four bros,
Yeah,
just
playing the game.
hanging out playing video games, like they're playing Star Wars Battlefront, and it's more wholesome than they would have actually ever been together.
I mean, I still love technology. As an eminent philosopher once said, I love technology. Yay, oh, wait.
I completely misheard you and thought that you said an Eminem philosopher and you're going to start rapping.
But what technology are you guys looking forward to the most? Is it upgrades in computers? As you can see here, and I've done a video on this before for my iMacs that I have. I've got the Mac Studio here, and then I've got a 2019 iMac there, which I use both of them religiously. I absolutely love technology. I've got the Rode Podcaster 2 on my desk here, which we are recording in addition to a handheld Zoom recorder. So I kind of like redundancy when it comes to my tech, just in case. You never know when you might need that redundancy. But anyway. So what are you guys looking forward to when it comes to tech?
I'm looking forward to more redundancy.
I'll let you go first.
Oh, all right. I wasn't expecting that. All right,
All right, I'll go.
you swerved me there. All right, but like technology-wise, yeah. Like I mentioned, I'm a huge pro gamer nerd, and I really enjoy being able to like play like stuff like Baldur's Gate and whatnot. Yeah, I was noticing that. The camera is this like following us? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Technology.
Yeah, exactly. That's the technology that I'm looking forward to, and it seems like it's looking forward to me because, well, maybe not because it's not following me, but this way, over here. But just like different upgrades to being able to play more like crazier and crazier games, because I look at what we're able to do with like the graphics for every video game now, because it's like 100 polygons from like 20 years ago is just like, wow, this is like the coolest thing ever, and then we fast forward to now and it's like, this is hyper realistic. Like it's scary how
like that new Unreal Engine.
No, exactly, yeah,
It's almost realistic. Like
exactly.
You're actually there.
Like they're using that for like making movies and stuff.
It's crazy.
Just being able to mesh and do things like that, I think is really cool. So it's more advancements like that I'm personally looking forward to for what we're able to do with video games and movies and things like that.
Well, I mean, I have the one video on my channel where I did a progression of the video games that I played since I was a little kid through college, and even as a young adult. And then Jake and I went to that this place, a gamer place, where they have the old-fashioned games in there, like Frogger,
The
and
Retrocade.
Space Invaders, the
There it is.
Retrocade, yes, in West Dundee. Doing a plug for that. So, the games have been phenomenal since then. I mean, you've got all the way up to the PlayStation 5 now, and then what's the latest Xbox?
the Xbox 1,756,000.
It's more of a
Whatever.
rectangle now. It's no longer a box.
Yeah, it's like a tall rectangle.
Cube.
Yeah, it's kind of cubish.
What is not a rhombus?
A trapezoid?
If you will.
It looks like something that's like a air purifier, and like the
Yeah.
PS5 too. Like they look like you just like pour water in it, and it helps your room.
PS5 is huge.
It is. I have the digital version, and that's still massive. It doesn't even have the disc drive.
Yeah, but here, mine's. I got a 3-parter here for you.
Ooh.
Ready? So,
That's-
what was your question?
Do tell.
What was your question?
What the video games that you guys think that where is it at now, and where do you think it's going to go?
Wait, hold up. Wait a minute. the
Ooh.
wait. So, like, going back to the technology one, I am really looking forward to hopefully in my lifetime seeing us get to Mars. That's the kind of technology I like to see. I'd love to see us become intergalactic, or just getting to another planet or moon, just something like that would blow my mind.
Like the movie Interstellar.
Yes, one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
But that's the kind of technology I would like to see. Second part is I get kind of concerned with some of the technology that's out now, like the new VR, that Meta Facebook one.
Yeah.
Well, Apple has their own
that's
Vision one now
But
too.
like the one where you can put something over here, you can walk away, come back, and it's still there. Like, is that even good for your eyes to have your screen that close? If just having your phone this close is bad?
Well, because remember too, this was like when we were growing up.
It's
Remember,
cool, though.
and it was like, hey, you can't get too close to that TV,
Yeah.
and then now it's just like, let's have it right up here to our eyes.
Just put it like glasses. Just put it-
Exactly.
But like I think it's cool, but I also think I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of making us lazy at the same time. Third parter. Ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Tossing it back to the old man. So with all that's been going on now, did you ever imagine it being like that when you were a kid?
I grew up with the cartoon The Jetsons, and I always thought that was the most futuristic thing I had seen. Back then, science fiction just fascinated me. As a little kid, I remember watching The Outer Limits, The Twilight Zone, Star Trek, Lost in Space,
Doctor Who.
all those shows. Yeah, Doctor Who also.
Who?
No way, oh way. But anyway, I didn't envision it to be at the point it is today. But as time has gone on, I do see how it led to this. But I kind of like to talk about the tech in movies. I mean, when I was a kid, we had the old still Flash Gordon serials on a Saturday morning. I mean, those were from like the 30s and 40s. And of course, we grew up, you could still see some silent movies, that type of thing, where they had the tech. Forgot the name of that movie now from the 20s, what they had the robot on there and everything. But then I grew up in movies like Forbidden Planet, where you saw Robbie the robot. I mean, it was just mind-blowing back then. And then as tech has progressed in movies, I mean, some of these are just phenomenal. And a lot of them are using AI for their movies, like Avatar, that type of thing. What movies do you guys really like the tech in?
The one that I instantly will always gravitate towards, because I love the piece of trivia where there is not a single second of this film that doesn't have CGI somewhere, is one of my all-time favorite movies, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, the first three had so much CGI in it. But I feel like CGI has kind of dropped off now.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe I'm wrong.
because it's one of those things too where, like, remember like all those early 2000s movies, how like it was like
Some
a
of it
very
was really bad.
it was a very cringy level
Yes.
of CGI that like it almost like claymation would have been better.
But I feel like 10 years ago, it got to a point where like it was getting good.
Yeah.
And then now, within the last 5-6 years, it kind of went back down. Like we peaked, and
Yeah.
then we're going down.
We peak with movies, such as Star Wars. I feel like too, it maybe like some of it's like restricted based on the budget and the studio and whatnot. But when I think of CGI, it's interesting when you think of like how movies today are so reliant and dependent on it more so than practical effects. I mean, look
It
at
ruins the movie.
it almost does. I mean, look at if you watch modern professional wrestling, for instance. Cheap plug, Dirt Sheet Radio. Go follow if you want to hear everything about pro wrestling. But like we look at like a modern like pro wrestling show, like it is covered head to toe with like CGI. They got LED boards everywhere. There is like no like unique like stage designs anymore because it's just giant LED panels that they can make to showcase everything, which it's cool what they're able to do, but at the same time, it's just not as much fun as like when WCW had their annual October event, Halloween Havoc, and it was like a whole like graveyard setup. Like you can't do something like that and make it look cool with LEDs, like, because you need like those tombstones right there on the stage, and be able to have like that fog on the ground, that mist, make it spooky. You can't do that with only LED paneling.
Well, going back to what you said about Star Wars, the episodes 1 through 3, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of CGI in there and it looks cool, but then if you look at the episodes 4, 5, and 6, there was no CGI and they actually had to make everything.
Exactly, it was all practical.
But to me, that looks more realistic than the CGI. And I feel like you could believe that better.
I kind of agree. Some of the older movies where they had to use actual props and sets and that type of thing. Yeah.
I feel like there's a level that we need to address as well, where Star Wars was always, and this was like George Lucas's vision for it, was to consistently, and you can see with every edition that comes out of like a re-release for episodes 4, 5, and 6, the fact that there's all this new stuff that keeps getting added in. You could tell there's like more like overly bogus looking like CGI and whatnot, and more like Disney-esque CGI now that they're owned by Disney.
Yeah.
But like keep looking, because like originally there was a deleted scene in episode 4 where we first meet Han, and we're supposed to meet Jabba as well. And originally Jabba's just some fat drunk Irishman. And then they decided, hey, later, let's change that. So in upgraded versions, if you don't know about the deleted scene, you can now see a scene where it's Han Solo and Chew Bacon at the at the Millennium Falcon, and there's like all like the bounty hunters and whatnot that hang out with Jabba the Hutt. And now, he's got this segment where like he steps on Jabba's tail and everything, and now he's back to being the big slug man. But originally, they were just pretending that. And I don't know if this was one of those things where George Lucas wanted to edit it later, but that this is just what Jabba was always meant to be, is eventually a slugman. So George Lucas always had foresight with it, because, look at starting with episode 4 of his 6 story arcs, is being able to start right there, because it was the most easy to make at the time when it came down to practical. Because he's always wanted to make real crazy effects. Because again, you can notice that when you watch like all the re-releases and newer editions, is when George Lucas adds more and more crazy and fun edits in there with CGI.
Well, the Lucas effects are phenomenal. Some movies, like I mentioned it before, Forbidden Planet, it has stood the test of time with its CGI, or not CGI, but actual sets and props and all that. Other movies, you can tell how dated they are just when you see them again in our modern times. But there are certain movies that have stood the test of time, and I commend those.
I also think with AI, getting off topic from movies though, like for medical purposes, the advancements in medicine with AI. Like I have a friend who has cancer now, and they're doing medical treatments with AI to try to combat his cancer.
How do they do that with AI?
I don't want to go too in depth with his illness, but basically they're using AI to help calculate and look at different objectives to attack the illness that he has.
But I think too, like being able to have AI that can notice a lot of things that the human eye can't perceive, I think is really cool. I work outside of the wrestling podcast within the communications field, so being able to utilize AI on my end for being able to create like different like messages and different like social media posts that are going to go out there, it's been really helpful. I can definitely harness the power of AI as a tool. And one of the guys that works for me, he's a real cool dude with a lot of energy. His name is Josh. He has this whole like AI system that he has basically mastered that develops and chooses AI content that, like, on my end for like communications, we can take videos of different messages and whatnot and be able to post those teachings out there to the world, and it can come up with different things like, hey, this is a trend that's going on right now, we can capitalize on that trend. And with AI, it's just like, here's the video clip that you can use to capitalize on that trend.
So that's good positives.
Yeah,
Talk about the negatives.
compared to back in the day when my dad, your grandpa used to take the home movies and play them on a projector. You literally had to cut the film and splice it together. I have a video on my channel that you can see with that. But nowadays, the editing, which I do on my iMac and my Mac Studio, it's just phenomenal what computers can do now with video editing and audio editing and all that, which is what we're going to, basically use for this podcast. So where do you think it's going to lead, guys?
I could see, just in like the immediate time frame, like ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can literally have that write a paper for you. I mean, where's the skill in that? As much as I hated school, but as a father myself now, it's like, what do you learn from that except for to take the easy way?
Yeah.
That's where I think it could be negative.
They're always trying to beat the system. Instead of putting that effort into actually using the system and making a success, people put more effort into trying to beat the system.
But I mean, I'm guilty of that too because I did the same thing.
I was gonna say, like, counterpoint, like, I think all of us in different ways tried to do that ourselves.
Guilty.
But I just think, just being an older guy now, these dang kids. But I did the same
Back
thing.
in my day, we just got this nerdy smart kid to do it.
You had to Google it.
Well, I have to say I did, kind of buddy up to the smartest kid in the class a lot just because some of the topics during school were a little more difficult than others. So by buddying up to the smarter kid, he could explain it a little better, peer to peer versus the teacher. It just worked out that way for me.
Well, here, I have a question. So even kind of similar to what we're talking about, but like when you were younger, with no internet and all that, like you had to actually go into the bank.
You had to go into the bank. You paid your bills either in person or via check. That old-fashioned check from a checkbook.
But do you think, with that being said, things are a lot easier now, of course, but at the same time, do you think things were better before the internet, or do you think things are better after the internet?
It's very nostalgic to think back to the time before we had cell phones, and if you needed to call home, you had to find a payphone somewhere. I do miss those times. They were very simple times, but I'm sure it's a matter of perspective. I'll bet the 90s seems very simplistic to you guys,
Yeah.
as opposed to today. So I look back on it. Yeah, there were certain things that I really liked. I mean, music back then was actually played with instruments as opposed to, synth and all that. But again,
I don't
some
know,
of the
the
most
80s have
prettiest
something to say
music.
to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's when it started. But I'm talking about more like the 60s and the 70s. Back then, we had the cool cars, the cool music, and that type of thing. I'm an 80s guy. I mean, I was young adulthood in the 80s, so I really love the 80s. If there was a petition to sign to bring back the 80s, I'd sign it. But I do like the way technology has interfaced with certain aspects of our lives today. And I'll throw it back to you guys. What do you think about that since the 90s when you guys were born?
Nick?
When I think about like just like technology and just where it's come from, where it's gone, where'd you come from, where'd you go? It's one of those things where like I have a unique perspective in the sense that I've worked with technology in so many different degrees and so many different categories. But I think honestly, like all of us in different ways have, and we've seen a different side of technology that the majority of like the general public doesn't get to work with or see. Because on my end, I work with a lot of like behind the scenes systems, so to speak, and I'm literally working with an AI developer as well to develop a whole system that works based on what our needs are, and based on like being able to work with the AI's brain, so to speak, and being able to have it say like, okay, we have this system in place, so it's going to automatically generate stuff in this sense. And I don't know if necessarily when I think of like the internet and AI, it's not always like this bad thing. It just depends on like us being able to harness it. Because now I'm thinking of like driverless cars, like Teslas and whatnot, being able to have those abilities. Because eventually, I know all the big car manufacturers do want to bring those capabilities in.
Do you trust those driverless cars? I mean, would you be able to fall asleep and let the car just drive you around?
I just don't think you should ever do that. I know, like with Tesla in particular, when you do use the driverless function, you have to make sure that you have both hands on the wheel still, because there's all kinds of free will that gets thrown in there, right? And
My leg.
my legs. You never know what someone's going to be doing. You never know who's going to decide, hey, let's jaywalk over here and jump in front of this Tesla.
Yeah.
But, I think we're eventually going to hit that point where we're not going to have driver's licenses anymore. We're going to have like operators licenses, because basically, like you mentioned with like ChatGPT and using that for a paper, you're no longer going through the process of making the paper yourself. You're having the AI do it, but at the same time, you're kind of operating it within certain like confines to operate within how you want the paper to be. So I think driving is going to eventually become like that, where you're not a driver, you're an operator now, and you have to make sure that you manage the computer system that is going to be updating your car like a Tesla. That's going to be making sure, hey, we're taking a million different inputs into account based on what you're doing, with the steering wheel or what's going on around you based on what the sensors are picking up.
Interesting take. What do you think, Jake?
I think technology is inevitable. I mean, for as long as humans have been around, it's always been a thing to create something to help with a certain problem, and it carries us farther, and then it's just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. But where this takes us, I mean, you could always say it's gonna take us to like some dystopian kind of thing, like in Blade Runner. But then at the same time, like you were saying, I mean, it is good. It's not all bad. It's just moderation, I guess, like with everything.
Yeah.
The just the computing power alone, they say it doubles like every year or two. I mean, just phenomenal. The amount of RAM you can get on a chip now, the amount of ROM you can get in a chip now, the SSDs versus the old hard drives from computers. I mean, it's just phenomenal the way it's evolving.
Smaller and smaller.
Yeah. I remember having radios in that as a kid called transistor radios. Why? Because they had transistors in them. Check out my video on my channel for that one. So, hey. So
Plugs
anyway.
everywhere.
So, I mean, you guys, where do you see it going?
You ever seen Wall-E?
Yes, now that's the way I should see it go.
I can see it going that way. That to me is like one extreme of it, where literally these people just sit in a chair their entire life and they don't move, and everything's taken care of for them. Even moving is taken care of by this chair. And then, but I can see it at the other end, like how I hope to see it, like getting to another planet or another solar system, like that. That to me would be the peak of.
Well, the fact that Captain Kirk, William Shatner, actually at his age in his 90s went up in space, outer space, for like 11 minutes. It's on my bucket list, definitely on my bucket list. I would like to go up into space one day. Well, we'll see. Closest I've gotten is, in an airplane. Haven't taken that hot air balloon ride yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Let them work out the kinks first, make it a little more affordable, and then we'll look into it. We'll let a few 2-3 people go in there, work out the kinks, and then
Figure it out in no time.
yeah, they'll get it done.
SpaceX. The X stands for extreme.
Anything else on technology that you guys want to talk about, explore, delve into?
Battle droids.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the high schools now, they build these battle droids for the kids. I mean, I actually want to see them, knock down, drag out, fight with these things. Did you ever see anything like that?
Like robot battles?
Personally, no. But I've seen the show.
Yeah, I've seen the show, and I think it's fun, like, conceptually. And, I mean, like, going back to the Star Wars topic, because, again, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, is, you can see, like, the super battle droids, like the droidicas and things like that, and just, like, all the different fun things that happen there. And when you think about, like, where AI is going and where technology is going, I mean, you can easily see, like, weapons of warfare, but also, on the more innocent side of the spectrum, weapons of comedy. Again, like, utilize weapons of love, comedy, because like you utilize the power of AI to make fun memes and jokes. I want to see more of that because that's been some of the most fun stuff in my opinion. Is just going to TikTok, seeing a bunch of celebrity voices put together with AI, just chilling, basically like they're like just hanging out with the boys, things like that.
Well, speaking, you brought up weapons of war. I mean, just look how that has evolved over the years. For thousands of years, you would have standing armies, like basically facing each other, and then they would just get into a brawl, basically with their, spears and arrows and all that. I mean, now you can push a button and wipe out an entire country. I mean, the Army and some of the other military services are looking for kids that are excellent in or experts in gaming, so that they can, fly the drones and that type of thing.
Well, the military has even themselves put out different like video games and whatnot. Like the Army gets involved in like video gaming. They had their own Xbox game. I remember that.
The freaking government, man.
Yeah, they're always involved. Some might say they're even watching right now.
I do think the concept of war, if you really break it down, has not changed. like from where it started to what spears and arrows to
Mhm.
where it is now to guided missiles. Like the concept is the same. How can I get this projectile to go that way?
Yeah.
And over time, it's just gotten better and better and better and better at throwing projectiles.
Faster projectile, a
Yeah.
more efficient projectile,
We're
a stronger
better at
one.
throwing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, that like name of the game. Because I mean, look at wanting to create like bows and arrows. It's like that person's all the way over there.
Yeah.
How do I strike them?
How do I do from here? How do I get that?
Yeah, you over there. I want to get you.
Yeah.
I want to get you from here, but I don't want to move over there because you might hurt me.
Like the crossbow, from bow and arrow to crossbow to like catapults. It's all the same concept, but it's just
It's just
gotten way
expanded.
more advanced.
Well, then you had the evolution of gunpowder to guided missiles today. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
But I just think it's funny. It's all the same basic concept, though. Like this rock, I'm gonna throw it.
I'll
Yeah.
point A to point B.
Yeah, but we're
s-
still doing the same
The
thing.
slingshot.
Humans are
the
really
missile.
good at inventing stuff to kill other humans.
I tend to be.
That's what we're good at.
That's why I prefer dogs over humans any day.
All right, guys. Well, this was a very interesting podcast, the first in a series. Any final words on technology? Jake, what do you have?
Yeah, I think it's good, but just in moderation. Just be careful about what we do. Peace and love.
Okay. And Nick, what do you think?
I think technology can absolutely be fun, and if anyone out there is listening and wants to send me some of their technology, hey, feel free. I will collect any and all computing. I'll take any of your AI systems. You want to help me get my work done faster, more efficiently? Be my guest. I look forward to it.
All right, guys. I thought this was a very interesting and fun podcast. The first, like I said, for my channel. So I appreciate you guys being here. And we're going to sign off now. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.